It's been a lifelong journey. When I was a little kid, I would see a piano and I'd want to play it. It would drive my parents crazy. So they signed me up for piano lessons. I begged them for it. I was like, please, I really want piano lessons. And they were like, who is this kid who actually wants to take piano? So I'm Dr. Charissa Noble, and I'm a musicologist, which means that I study music history and culture here at USD. After I finished my undergraduate, I learned about musicology, and it united my love of a lot of different things, of history, of cultural conversations that had wide-ranging implications for not just how we think about music and art, but the way that we live and think of ourselves as humans. The way in which that song is produced, or in a classical music context, you might say orchestrated, the way the instruments are treated, whether it's loud or soft, whether the texture is dense and there's a lot of things happening and it feels really full, or whether it's like really sparse and naked. The way that the music sounds itself has so many layers of cultural meaning that I think are really fascinating and can teach you a lot about your world and maybe about yourself. A lot of people think that the arts are a nice extra thing that you can have in your life if you have time. And students never think they have time. I understand, I was once you. But what I think a lot of people don't realize is the way in which music isn't just an extra thing, it's actually a fundamental part of the world in which we live. All of those things have a profound impact on who you are and how you develop interpersonal skills, how you collaborate with other people, and how you enrich your life and start thinking about the parts of life that are more than just earning an income and keeping yourself alive. John Cage inspires me because he was one of the composers who thought differently about music in a way that influenced many other people, and that he broke the mold with musical composition in so many ways over the course of his life. And despite pretty intense criticism, he continued forward and he continued to innovate. And I think that that's really admirable. There are a lot of people today who find him controversial or don't take his music seriously. And I think that that's a continued testament to the fact that the questions that he's asking are still relevant. And then I'd say also, my former advisor, Lita Miller, is an inspiration to me as a researcher, because she told me, and I think this is great advice, she said, Charissa, you shouldn't do research on composers that you don't like. You should always do research about people that you like. People can tell. When you're writing about a human being and when you're writing about their music, people can tell if you don't like or respect this person, even if you really try to hide your bias. And do you want to be a positive voice, or do you want to be a negative voice in this person's story? Oh yes, Ensemble X. No one knows what it is. And I'm not going to tell you. No, I'm just kidding. Ensemble X is difficult to explain because it relies so much on context. I think that a simple way to put it is the classical music kids getting weird. And before you run for the hills when you hear that description, maybe I'll give you a little bit of background. I came across what's called experimental music when I was in graduate school, and all of a sudden, all of these ways in which I could use my voice, other people could use their instruments, or we could even reimagine what musical performance would be like, were opened. The historical context is also the classical kids getting weird. It's all of these composers who were working in classical music who said, okay, so the way that we've always been doing things, do we have to do it that way? It's literally an experiment. And so these composers would experiment with subjecting certain parameters of music to a chance element or to the discretion of the performers or even the audience members. Getting a music major or a minor will be good for you no matter what career that you go and pursue after graduating. And a lot of people don't tell you this, and maybe your parents don't agree with this, but the truth is that no one cares what degree you get. No one cares. You just have to have a degree, and you have to be able to do the thing that they want to hire you to do.